Don't overthink it. Choose intuitively. Timestamps are below when you are ready. Pile 1. You pulled card 32. Wish. This feels like someone carrying a feeling very quietly, almost like a dream. And not because it was small, but because it was fragile and mattered too much to handle carelessly. You have the Five of Cups, Queen of Wands, Five of Pentacles, Seven of Pentacles, and listen to the music of your soul in reverse. And wish here feels very emotional, but in a very specific way, because it feels like someone hoping for something, while at the same time trying not to need it too much. Like making space for someone in your heart, but never fully trusting life enough to believe they could stay there. This feels like a wish someone carried privately, carefully, almost protectively. And the Five of Cups feels like sadness to me, but not only sadness over loss. It feels like sadness over distance, over silence, over moments that almost became something more, like someone replaying conversations afterward, thinking about what they should have said or what they wish they had done differently. And underneath all of that, I still feel love here, silent love, but very real. The Queen of Wands in the sprint changes the energy because this person sees you as someone warm, alive, magnetic, like someone who walks in a room and shifts the atmosphere without trying to. What I think scared them the most was how naturally drawn to you they became. Because some connections don't arrive slowly. And suddenly, someone's inner world, their life, doesn't feel as stable as it used to. But the Five of Pentacles shows the part they rarely speak about. Because I feel insecurity here. Like someone worrying they wouldn't be enough, or fearing they would care more deeply than the other person did. This feels like someone quietly pulling themselves away, not because they wanted distance, but because rejection felt heavier than silence. And sometimes people stay silent when their feelings become too important to risk. And the Seven of Pentacles feels like waiting, not passive waiting, lingering, longing, anticipating, like someone checking on the same feelings again and again to see if they have faded out. But they haven't. In fact, I think this person has tried more than once to convince themselves they were over this. And every time their heart returned to the same place. And listen to the music of your soul in reverse feels deeply connected to all of this. Because I feel someone disconnecting from how they really feel, trying to think their way out of feelings, trying to stay logical, reasonable, composed. But emotions don't disappear simply because someone avoids listening to them. The real ones stay. They wait patiently. And eventually, they begin speaking louder than the mind can silence. What they want to say is that they tried very hard to make this feeling smaller than it really was. But somewhere along the way, it became part of them. And for some of you, they never stopped caring. They simply became afraid of how deeply this connection was starting to reach them. Pile 2. You pulled card 16, Expedition. You have the Hermit, Judgment, the Hierophant, Death, with unconditional self-acceptance and allow anger. This feels like someone standing at the edge of a life they can no longer fully return to, because expedition is movement, but not casual movement. This feels like emotional departure, like someone realizing this version of themselves that existed before this connection is quietly disappearing. With expedition opening this reading, this feels like someone who thought they understood themselves, their routines, the limits of what they can feel, the story of their life, and then suddenly something shifted. Like stepping onto a road they never intended to take. And once they stepped into it, nothing inside them stayed the way it was before. I actually think this person withdrew emotionally for a reason. The Hermit feels extremely strong here. Not because they felt nothing, but because they felt too much and didn't know what to do with it. This feels like someone going inward, replaying conversations, trying to understand why this connection reached them the way it did. There is exhaustion here, the kind that comes from carrying thoughts alone for too long. Then judgment arrives. And this is where the energy becomes transformational, feels like awakening, like something becomes impossible to ignore anymore. And for some of you, I think this connection woke something up in them that had been sleeping for a very long time, wanting to feel again, to live differently, to stop performing, to stop coping, and actually start living. And the image on this card feels so symbolic because she's standing beneath an entire universe. Like someone realizing their life became bigger after meeting you. And the Hierophant here feels complicated because I think this person has strong beliefs about how life is supposed to work, how feelings should be handled, what is acceptable, what is safe. And yet this connection challenged those structures. This feels like someone torn between their feelings and the life they build around control, logic, responsibility, or expectation. Like standing between who they have always been and who they are becoming. And then death appears. I don't experience this card as loss here. I experienced it as transformation. Because the image itself, standing on the yellow bridge, this feels like someone suspended between an old self and the new self. And I think part of what they want to say is that this connection changed them permanently. Not temporarily, not romantically only, deeply. Like something ended inside them. The moment they realized they could no longer pretend this didn't matter. And unconditional self-acceptance feels deeply profound beside all of this. Because I think this person struggles with accepting their own feelings. The intensity what they feel. This feels like someone who judges themselves very harshly. Someone who tries to stay composed even when they are unraveling inside. The second oracle card arrived in this reading, Allow Anger. And this card feels very important because I don't think the anger here is truly about you. I think this is anger at themselves, at timing, at fear, at helplessness, at realizing feelings arrived after it was already too late to stay untouched by them. And sometimes anger appears where grief is trying to hide. What they want to say is that meeting you changed something in them that cannot return to sleep. And for some of you, this person disappeared not because the connection meant nothing, but because it began changing them faster than they knew how to emotionally survive. Pile 3. You pulled card 18. Retreat. You have the 3 of Pentacles, King of Pentacles, Nine of Swords, Two of Cups, with bravery, go. To me, this feels like someone pulling away. Not because the connection meant nothing to them. Retreat here doesn't feel cold to me. It feels more overwhelming. The crowned figure on the retreat card is standing still while someone runs beside her, and those tentacles spreading across the ground. This feels like feeling becoming too consuming, almost like a tsunami. So they try to regain control by creating distance. With retreat opening this reading, I think this person became frightened by the intensity of what they were feeling. Because some connections arrive with a sense of your own permission, and others, quietly but persistently, take over someone's inner world. This is someone who started thinking about you more than they meant to, feeling more than they planned to, caring more than they wanted to. And instead of moving closer, they step back. Not always because they wanted to leave, but because they didn't fully know how to stay. The 3 of Pentacles feels disheartened here, because this card normally speaks about building something together. But the image on this card feels almost heartbreaking. Everyone is gathered together and yet separated by bars. And I think that's exactly how this person feels. Wanting connection, wanting closeness, but not fully knowing how to connect, how to let their guard down. This feels like someone present, but still guarded, still watching themselves carefully, still afraid of what happens if they let too much show. The King of Pentacles changes the energy a lot, because this doesn't feel like someone careless or emotionally immature. This feels like someone who normally survives through stability, control, routine, responsibility. Someone used to staying grounded. And I think part of what unsettled them was how naturally this connection bypassed all of that. Because feelings don't always arrive logically. Sometimes they simply arrive. And suddenly someone who usually feels stable, in control, grounded, following routine, doesn't feel stable anymore. And the Nine of Swords feels extremely strong here. There is anxiety in this pile. But deeper than anxiety, I feel mental exhaustion. The image on this card feels incredibly symbolic, because the entire city is floating above her head, like someone mentally carrying entire worlds inside themselves. Conversations, what-ifs, consequences, imagined futures, fear of loss, fear of rejection. This feels like someone thinking themselves into paralysis. And I think part of the retreat happened because their mind speaks to them louder than their heart. Then the Two of Cups shows up. And this card makes everything softer. Because underneath all of the fear in this reading, I still see connection, reciprocity, care. This doesn't feel one-sided to me. It feels like two people who deeply affected one another. But one person became frightened by the depth of what they were beginning to feel. And the moon on this card feels important too. The moon often speaks about emotions, feelings, intuition. This connection feels deeply emotional, but also deeply vulnerable, like something both people can feel physically and intuitively, even without fully speaking it. And Bravely Go feels like the turning point of this reading, because this card doesn't feel aggressive, it feels encouraging, like life telling someone, you already know what your heart is trying to say. Now you have to decide whether fear will continue choosing you. I think this person is standing between two lives right now. One built around safety and one built around the truth of how they truly feel. And I think part what they want to say is that they are trying to find the courage to stop running from what they already feel. What they want to say is that retreating never stopped their feelings. It only delayed having to face them. And for some of you, this person pulled away not because the connection lacked meaning, but because it carried the potential to change their entire emotional world. Take what speaks to you, leave the rest, and thank you for being here.